Hello, Tar Heel Nation. Welcome back to another episode of UNC Hoops Talk podcast. I'm your host, Dan DeWitt. I'm glad you guys have joined me, listening, watching, however you're taking it in. Back a little bit sooner than I said I would be. A couple of scheduling conflicts. I was going to do Monday before the Stanford game. I was going to have Blake from Keeping a Heel on. Couldn't get our schedules to match up. We thought it was going to work today. Still didn't work, and so I said I'm going to record today, preview the Stanford game, recap our first games, preview the PK80, and then our goal now is to him come on next Sunday night after hopefully what will be the Tar Heels in the championship game of the PK80 tournament. We're going to do a late night podcast and then obviously recap all of those games. So yeah, we're going to recap the first couple of real games the Tar Heels have had so far this season. We're going to look forward to the Stanford game and then look forward to the PK80 tournament and everything that's happened to the Tar Heels since the last time I podcasted, because quite a bit has gone on. So we're going to jump right in, kind of join those news in with the stories of the games. First, we had the Northern Iowa game, the home opener for the Tar Heels of the 2017-18 season. And unusual because, well, it's not unusual really for the Tar Heels anymore. It's like the third or fourth season we're starting the season without a starter in lineup. Obviously, Joel Berry, we talked about his injury, and we did not have him. And then we also did not end up having Cam Johnson because of what we were told was a neck injury. And not that that wasn't true, but obviously that was, if you're following the Tar Heel news, you know that's not the biggest issue with Cam Johnson to this point. But Northern Iowa, Luke May, of course, led the way, 26 points, 10 rebounds in 28 minutes. Just phenomenal. I mean, he was doing like everything. He shot 11 for 16. He was 2 from 3 from three-point line, made both of his free throws. Was just outstanding. Because of it, was named Player of the Week in the ACC for that first week. Just his first game, or just the one game that we had that week. But I mean, he was posting up, hitting those shots. He was hitting the mid-range. He hit a step-back fadeaway in the corner. He hit, like obviously I said, 2 threes. Just doing everything. Obviously rebounding the ball. Looked like he could be an all-ACC player, if maybe not even the first team, but at least second team, third team this year, if he can keep that up. Obviously, that's one game. We've had 2 now, but he's looking like he can carry us scoring-wise a little bit. Of course, we know the competition is going to get stiffer as we go along. I should mention we did win fairly comfortably, 86-69. I believe we were up 30 at one point, and they kind of made a run towards the end there with our reserves in. Garrison Brooks had a nice game. Really, all of our freshman bigs had a good first game for them. Garrison Brooks had 14 points, 6 rebounds, half of them being offensive rebounds in 18 minutes for him. Hit all 4 of his free throws, 5 for 6 shooting from the field. And then, while I'm mentioning the freshman big, Sterling Manley in that first game, 9 points, 8 rebounds. 3 of his were offensive rebounds, and that was in 14 minutes. And then Brandon Huffman, just 9 minutes, but added 4 points and a rebound, and looked like as long as he's going to get the ball close to the hoop, it's going to be a dunk for us. Overall, as a team, well, I should mention too, I didn't say this, but Jalik Felton did start this game, not Seventh Woods in place of Joel Berry. And then Kenny Williams, because of the injury to Cam Johnson, did get the start. Not that Kenny doesn't deserve to start. I think I've talked about this. My starters, I feel, would be Cam Johnson in there in place of Kenny. But Kenny, nice game, 10 points. Just shot 3 for 8, but did hit 2 threes. Gave us a rebound, gave us 5 assists to 1 turnover. Theo Pinson as well, just 3 points, but did give us 5 assists to no turnovers. Well, Jalik Felton. No, it was Brandon Ramsey gave us 3 points without a turnover as well. And let's see, who else here? Seventh Woods gave us 9 points off the bench here in this one. Hit 3 out of 4 for his free throws, hit 3 of 6 shots. He had a couple of nice mid-range jumpers that he knocked down as well. We had, see if I can quickly count this, 10, 11, 12, or sorry, 5, 6, 7, 9 guys in double-figure minutes, and then Brandon Huffman with the 9 minutes. So pretty much 10 guys with double-digit minutes in this opener, and that's obviously without Cam Johnson and Joel Berry, who will definitely get double-digit minutes any games they play, barring injury. So yeah, a nice first outing. We out-rebounded them just 37-29. Obviously a smaller Northern Iowa team. We could last year we would have done a much better job. We got 9 offensive rebounds in this one. Again, last year would have been much different. We're gonna have to kind of watch those numbers this year. But we did have 20 assists to just 7 turnovers. We had 8 steals. It was good first outing for the Tar Heels. Obviously we know they should have won. They did. They took care of business in that sense. A little strange without the starting point guard, without Joel out there. We thought we were going to have Cam, and then he didn't go. So yeah, but that does not end our injuries. I've seen it on Twitter a lot, but hopefully the football team's plague of injuries is not infecting the basketball team, because then in between the Northern Iowa game and the Bucknell game, I think what happened first, we first learned that Joel Berry was possible to go, and he did play, which means the 4 weeks for his broken hand ended up being about 3.5 weeks, if I did the math right. So that was obviously good news as far as injuries go. But then Cam Johnson on Monday before the Bucknell game tore a meniscus, had to have surgery. We learned after the game the surgery went well. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, which if I can remember now off the top of my head, 4 weeks brought him. I have the schedule up here. 4 weeks brought him to about December 13th, I believe it was, which is right before the Tennessee game. So that's kind of best case probably, as he'll be back for that Tennessee game. And then 6 weeks on the worst case kind of thing was December 27th, I believe, which is right before our December 30th opener for the ACC play against Wake Forest. So Cam Johnson hopefully will be back for all the ACC games. Obviously, it'll take a little bit to kind of, because he's obviously a new player as well, so to kind of integrate him into what we're doing, see how we're playing, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, he may not come back even as quickly as Joel did. Joel did not have a good first outing. We'll talk about that here. But yeah, so we learned that Cam Johnson was out with his knee, will be out for a while. And then also for this Bucknell game, Brandon Robinson did not play because of a shoulder sprain, I believe it was, or strain, one of those two. And so he did not play. More minutes for Andrew Platek. And those wings and guards as well. We do not have any timetable on him. I'm guessing it's kind of day to day. They don't expect him to miss any more time, although we've got a better announcement on that, I believe. We ended up winning 93-81 over Bucknell. First half and first part of the second half were not bad. They were not great. And I had to watch it on Watch ESPN app. It was going in and out. At first, I thought it was my internet messing up, but apparently a lot of people had this issue with it pausing and lagging and all this stuff. So I did not have a good rhythm of the game, but just didn't seem like we were in a good rhythm for the game as well. And we had, kind of a double-digit 10, 15-point lead, and they'd get it down to like 6, and we'd go on a little run or whatever. But they actually did get it down to 1. I didn't take the lead, but see if it shows me lead changes. So our biggest lead was 16. Their biggest lead was in the first half. Right away, it was 3 points. So there was 3 late changes. So I think they did actually take the lead once. They went up by 1. We came down, hit a bucket, and then kept going from there. Didn't let them get the lead back. But yeah, they made a run. They made it interesting. And obviously, it shouldn't be that way. Bucknell is a good team. I told people Bucknell was going to be better than Northern Iowa, and we would have to play. They're going to be a good club, even though they are 0-3, I believe, now after our loss, or their loss to us. They're going to be a good team. They have pretty much everybody back from last year. We still, I think people would say it shouldn't have been that close, but it's looking with the glass half full kind of perspective is it's good for our guys to play in a game like that. It's good to be tested maybe when it doesn't mean as much. This isn't, playing in the ACC tournament, the NCAA tournament, where a team that we should be beating by more is sticking with us and giving a challenge or anything like that. So in that sense, I think it's not bad for us. Not that we played well. Luke May continued his scorching of a beginning of the year, 20 points, 9 rebounds for him. Did have to play 37 minutes this time to get it. Shot 6 for 12, hit 3 3-pointers in this one. Let's see here. Just about besides Joel Berry, was our entire starting lineup in double figures. Theo Pinson, nice game. 19 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, the 2 turnovers. Missed all 3 3-pointers. We have to keep watching that. Watch out for YOLO Theo. But hit 9 out of 10 free throws in the game. Had a couple of huge ones kind of when they were making it tight in the second half. Garrison Brooks. At first I looked at this. It was right after the game. I said 10 points, only had 3 rebounds. But now, like today, as I was looking closer at the stats, he only played 11 minutes. So, 10 points. Obviously, 3 rebounds isn't as nice as we'd want, but that's in 11 minutes. That's good production yet for a freshman big there. Obviously, again, like I said, and we'll keep saying until we play it, but the competition will get better. But yeah, he had a nice game there with just 11 minutes, and it wasn't like he was in foul trouble. It wasn't like he did anything. Well, I guess he did have 4 fouls. I think it was the first half played less minutes because he got 2 quick ones, but it wasn't like he was necessarily doing something wrong. And Roy kind of said this after the game. Sterling was just playing so well, and so he kind of alluded to, we'll go with who's having a good night, who's playing well that night, and those 3 guys are going to just have to step up, and whoever steps up the best will get that playing time. So Kenny Williams, 10 points, shot 4 for 7, hit 2 threes again. Joel Berry did struggle. This is obviously his first game back. He played 30 minutes, which really surprised me. And Roy said after the game he was kind of mad at himself. He played him too much. But he said as well, it was some of that he was playing off the ball with 7th or with Jalik in there, and that's why he ended up getting so much minutes. But I thought he would come back a little bit slower. But he started the game and obviously played 30 minutes. Shot 1 for 11 from the field, 1 for 5 for 3. Did hit 5 out of 6 free throws though. 6 assists to 1 turnover, so you can't be mad about that with your point guard. And then kind of the big surprise, Sterling Manley, 17 points off the bench, 16 points, 13 rebounds. 7 of those 13 rebounds, offensive rebounds. Hit 6 out of his 10 shots, 4 out of his 5 free throws. And so I just saw somebody tweet this out just right before I started recording, but he's played 31 minutes now, 17 minutes in this game, has no fouls in both those games. So he also had a couple of blocks in this game. So yeah, great game from Sterling Manley, and something at some point I'd like to talk about, at least mention on this game, and would love feedback from you guys either in the comments of the podcast or on Twitter, email, however you want to get a hold of me. But kind of who is kind of your guy? Say, yeah, that's my man, that's my boy. Obviously, taking like Joel Berry out of it, maybe even Theo as seniors, we know what Joel can do. He's an easy, pick. He's going to be very important to this team. But kind of that underrated guy, like last year, Tony Bradley, from the beginning, I just said, I love that guy. The way he plays and his skills and stuff like that, he's going to be really good someday. So obviously it happened a lot quicker than I even expected for Tony last year. He's doing well. But obviously Andrew Platek has kind of gotten some cheers from the crowd with his hustle and with kind of his style of play. Obviously he's a smaller guy, the underdog kind of role. For me, I started to say, well, it's Sterling Manley that. I'm going to wait a couple of games here and kind of see how things play out before I make my pick of my guy. But Sterling Manley making his case with 16 points, 13 rebounds in 17 minutes against Bucknell. Jalik Felton, 15 minutes in this game, had 4 points, 2 assists. Again, we're kind of seeing those flashes of him of why he was a 5-star guy. Brandon Huffman only 4 minutes in this game, but still gave us 4 points, 2 rebounds. And that's probably going to be his role. He may get somewhere from 4 minutes, may get up to 9 minutes, give or take some in some games. But when he comes in, he's got to produce. He's got to rebound. He's got to, dunk that ball. And so, yeah, I would love to know who's kind of your guy, your under role. Obviously, Seventh Woods has the athleticism. I think we've seen flashes from him. Maybe not as much as like Jalik. Jalik just has those moments. He makes a move, and if he can, and maybe he could do it every time, but it's not part of the offense. But just the raw talent there is definitely going in his favor. So team-wise, against Bucknell, we out-rebounded them 47-28, much better than the Northern Iowa team or game. We had 16 offensive rebounds. We had 22 assists again. We did have 13 turnovers, a little bit more than the Northern Iowa game. 7 blocks, 6 steals. Since there were steals, blocks obviously is very nice. We had 2 from Luke, 2 from Stanley, 1 from Huffman, and then 1 from Garrison and 1 from Kenny. So, nice overall game. Good way to get our feet wet here. Obviously, we're still shuffling lineups here a little bit with Cam Johnson now out. Brandon Robinson was out. Joel Berry coming back in. Hopefully Robinson comes back in. Hopefully we're bringing people back in, not losing anybody else here. But yeah, it was kind of a sloppy second half against Bucknell. We didn't play well in that sense, statistically, and maybe just, like I said, getting our feet wet, and especially in a close game, and getting just the feel for that, and knowing we can bounce back and still take them down. Before we move on, I did want to mention the milestone that Roy Williams hit in this game. It was Roy's 400th win at North Carolina. I believe they said he's the first coach to have 400 wins at 2 different universities. Obviously, he had over 400 at Kansas. Now he's got over 400 at North Carolina, and it was also his 200th game in the Dean Dome at home. So a couple of milestones, I guess, technically for Roy there. At first, I kind of thought, wow, yeah, he won 200 games on the road before he did at home. But obviously, there's more road games, especially when you're counting the ACC tournament, the NCAA tournament. All those are considered away, obviously, because they're not at the Smith Center. So, congratulations to Roy Williams. Keeps accomplishing more and more with the Tar Heels, and of course, we all love to see that, especially when it's good stuff like wins and championships and all those things. So we already have a mention here for kind of their boy, Megan Arrington, friend of the podcast, has been on a few times, or at least a couple of times. She already claims Sterling Manley as her man on the team, her kind of underdog. So like I said, I'll keep looking out for that. But we're going to transition here a little bit into looking ahead to the games. We have Stanford coming up on Monday. And so obviously we can spend a little bit more time here talking about it, since I'm not recording on the day of, and you got a little bit of time to listen before that game. This game is playing, it's going to be 11 p.m. Eastern tip on Monday. It'll be on ESPN2, so we can watch it, and I won't have to worry about the Watch ESPN app messing up while I watch as well. So that'll be good. A little bit of a late one, of course, being out on the West Coast. But I know that Tar Heel fans will stay up and watch that. At first, when I saw this game, I was like, ooh, that's kind of a tricky one. We're coming, kind of first real test, kind of the, Power 5 team right before the PK80 tournament. We have to travel to the other coast. But Stanford, off to a little bit of a rocky start. They beat Cal Poly 78-62. Then they only beat Pacific, which is also where Kenny Smith Jr. transferred from. They beat them 89-80. Just kind of squeaked that one out. And then they lost this past Tuesday to Eastern Washington, 67-61. So a little bit of a struggle there for Jared Haas's team. Remember, Jared Haas coming from, obviously, an assistant to Roy Williams, but also then went to UAB and beat Roy Williams. I want to say it was Jared's second year at UAB. It might have been his first. Obviously, we know this is his first year at Stanford here. So we have to kind of watch out. He does know Roy and his sets and plays and style and all that. Hopefully that doesn't matter. Hopefully our guys kind of get out there. They did go pretty early. I believe they were leaving Thursday to get out there early and acclimated to the time change and all that. So that shouldn't really be an issue. And yeah, Stanford's going to struggle. They do play tonight against Northeastern. So I guess we'll kind of see how they rebound from that loss that they took. And yeah, obviously we will predict a win, that we should beat them. Kind of depends how we react here, to the travel, to guys getting back into form, if any more injuries happen, anything like that, and then how Stanford bounces back as well. But yeah, that's the Stanford game Monday at 11:30 Eastern time, so it's 10:30 for me. At least I can watch while the kids are in bed, and I won't get interrupted like that. But it's kind of a late night there watching the Heels. But what other way would you want to start your week? Your well, I guess they consider this kind of feast week as well. But your Thanksgiving week, you stay up late on a Monday night watching the Tar Heels play and play a Power 5 team and someone we're kind of familiar with in Jared Haas. So great time there. You only got 2-3 day work week, so go ahead and stay up on Monday night and watch the Tar Heels and go back to work the next day, rub it in a little bit, and then get ready for Thanksgiving. So yeah, that's Monday night. Then we go into the PK80 tournament. The brackets have been released for some time now. We'll play on November 23rd, which is Thanksgiving Day. It is a 2:30 p.m. Eastern tip. This one will be on ESPN. I would say they have the home court advantage. I don't know that it's played at the University of Portland, but obviously in their hometown. But as well as North Carolina travels, and as a national of a brand they are, maybe we'll have just as much of a crowd as they do. Who knows? So barring anything crazy there, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about that game. We should beat Portland. If we don't, we got bigger issues than anything I'm going to say on this podcast. But so as long as, I'll say first, if we do lose, then we play Friday the 24th on ESPN3. So it would not even be on ESPN Network. So we'd have to, again, use our Watch ESPN app. But that game would be at, let's see, they've got Pacific times here. So it'd be 6 p.m. Eastern time. If we lose, we should win, and then it would be on ESPN, so we can use our TVs again. And that game will be at 3:30 Eastern time on Friday. So, and we would play the winner again. Obviously, win or lose, we play the winner or the loser of Arkansas and Oklahoma. Arkansas is playing pretty well this year for who they've played. Anyway, I haven't seen them play. I know that they're winning. I heard somewhere that they beat somebody. I don't remember who it was, but I have not seen them. But from what I've heard, they're doing all right this year. Not heard anything about Oklahoma, but they've been decent in the past few years. So kind of see what they have left if we play them, and then I'll go again from there. If we on Friday, if we lose, we would play Sunday. It says 12 or 12:30 Pacific time. So again, 3 or 3:30 Eastern time on Sunday. And for television, it says to be determined there. So I don't know if that means ESPNU, ESPN2, or ESPN3. That would be for third place. I'm not even going to go through if we lost the Portland game and then won or lost the game after that. We play Sunday no matter what, and you can look up the brackets. But we should beat Portland. We'll go from there. So if we win that second game against either Arkansas or Oklahoma, we would play in the championship game on Sunday, which is 5:30 Pacific, so 8:30 p.m. Eastern time tip, and that would be on ESPN. The championship game will be on ESPN. We will play, obviously, the winner of, UConn, Oregon, Michigan State, DePaul. So Michigan State's going to beat DePaul. I'm not going to be too worried about that one. Oregon should beat UConn. I don't know. So we'll say we'll play either Michigan State, Oregon, or UConn. I would say we'll play either Michigan State or Oregon. We should play Michigan State. They were top 2 when the preseason rankings came out. Obviously, they've lost to Duke in the Champions Classic, so they may drop a little bit. But Oregon had quite a bit coming back. They could be decent, but should be Michigan State. And we know that Roy doesn't lose to Tom Izzo very often, but they would be probably the higher ranked teams, depending how far they drop after that Duke loss. They have the talent. We'll see if they can put it together. They didn't quite get it together against Duke. They let Grayson Allen go off and didn't rebound like Tom Izzo teams usually do, didn't really defend like Tom Izzo teams usually do. So if they get it together, that could be a really tough one against at least a top 10 team. They don't get it together, we could be playing Oregon, or obviously we could take that win. Really, we have, and it's crazy because I felt from the exhibition game we had 2 weeks before our home opener against Northern Iowa. It took forever because obviously we could watch that exhibition game on the internet, and then to get to another time where I could actually watch because the charity events was not on TV. So it just felt like forever in those 2 weeks to get to our first game. And then even from the Northern Iowa game to Bucknell, it's when is it going to be game day again? Well, we're not going to have that problem anymore. We're going to play here Monday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, come back and play Monday, Wednesday, Wednesday and Friday, I think. The next one's, it's crazy here. It's going to be a game day, and of course, a good crazy. But yeah, we're going to play Stanford Monday, then we play Thursday, Friday, Sunday in this PK80 tournament. We come back and play Wednesday against Michigan in the Big Ten ACC Challenge, turn around, play Friday against Davidson, play Sunday against Tulane, the next Wednesday there. Obviously about twice a week from there on out through the season pretty much. So it's going to be crazy. We'll get into Michigan and Davidson later. Obviously, Michigan, we're playing a bunch of games, and who knows how we come back and all that stuff. Davidson threw up 50-some threes in their first game and hit 26 of them. So that's going to be a crazy game, and it's in Charlotte as well. So that'll be interesting how we guard the three and all that. But like I said, we'll cover that in the next podcast and see how we come back from this PK80 tournament. Hopefully I'll have Blake, next Sunday. I said that's the goal. We'll probably podcast live. So if you want to stay up after that championship game, let's see if it starts at 8:30 Eastern, get done about 10:30. So about 11:30, we're going to be podcasting. You can stay up and leave your comments and kind of join in the conversation with us. We'd love to have you. And yeah, no shortage of games here through, March, beginning of April. So it's a great time for college basketball. Trying to see here if I missed anything. Podcast, I'm going to get it in when I can. Obviously, scheduling sometimes changes like this one. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you listen or watch this podcast. It is up on YouTube, which if you are watching on YouTube, you can tell it's No Shave November for me. We'll see if I make it through the whole month. But right now I look pretty shaggy. And if you're on, it's on Apple Podcasts. It's on pretty much any podcast app that you can get podcasts. We're there. Stitcher, like I said, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, TuneIn, iHeartRadio. And I just recently got accepted into Spotify as well. I don't think it's up there yet. It might take a couple weeks, but I've been accepted into Spotify if you listen to podcasts there. So make sure you tell, especially as Thanksgiving comes, have a happy Thanksgiving. Talk about the Tar Heels at the Thanksgiving Day table, and tell a friend or family, a fellow Tar Heel fan about the podcast. Spread the word. Let's unite Tar Heel Nation here as we get this season going. And yeah, just connect with me. If you haven't already on social media, obviously Twitter, All Tar Heel Dan. It's the same on Instagram. But I put all that stuff in below. I have been bigger on Instagram this off season coming into the season. So if that's where you go, shoot me a private message there and let me know that you found the podcast or listen to the podcast. And I welcome any feedback, any suggestions, all that good stuff. But kind of rambling here, and I don't want to take any more of your time. So have a happy Thanksgiving. Before I go, see, threw it off there. Got some comments here from Carl in the YouTube comments section here as we're going. So looks like we got quite a few of them. So Carl, thank you for the comments. But Carl said he has underestimated this team. If they are healthy, they're a legit title contender. I would agree with that. They're at least a contender to get to the Final Four, and then anything can happen from there. He says he thinks this year's competition, if Duke doesn't turn out good, which it looks like they're going to be pretty good, but he said the competition is going to be easier than the previous 2 years. Duke's going to be really good. Louisville has the talent to be good. We got Virginia, that's always good. Miami's going to be good this year. But then Carl says he loves holiday late games, so he's looking forward to that Monday game late. And then he kind of wishes that Shea Rush could get playing time. Feel sorry for him because you can see he's more passionate than anyone as far as getting on the court goes. And I would agree with you. Shea Rush loves the University of North Carolina, loves being on the basketball team, and it looks like he would do pretty much anything for them and to be able to play, but really to be on the team. He looks like he just enjoys himself and looks like a good kid. So yeah, you gotta, maybe that's who he's picking for his guy is Shea Rush. And then Carl says he didn't want Kenny starting. I'm kind of happy that we had such good players coming off the bench. Cam, Manley, Felton, Robinson hasn't improved much. He could be valuable as well. And yeah, speaking of Kenny, one thing I kind of didn't mention was his energy and also his defense off the bench. And we'd had it from Theo where he was kind of the energy guy before, but Kenny was bringing that energy, especially defensively. He put up 10, I think, in both of the first games, so he's still scoring, shooting the ball. But yeah, especially defensively and with his hustle, Kenny Williams has definitely given us that kind of spark. Hasn't always obviously been off the bench here, but yeah, he's given us that spark and has earned his minutes, whether that's starting minutes or coming off the bench. He's definitely given this team a lift. I know a lot of it has been talked about how happy he was in that first game just to be out there playing after his injury last year, and just how much he was smiling and all that stuff. So got to feel good for him. And then Carl ends it, no other team I'm worried about other than Duke, and I think we are just as good, if not better, than they are this year. I'm not worried about other teams. I think there are definitely other teams that we can lose to, teams that will give us fits, things like that. It will be interesting to see. Duke's starting lineup is probably the most talented, 1 through 5, but they don't have depth. Of course, Coach K never plays it, even if he has depth, but they don't have depth. And then also with them sitting in that 2-3 zone all year, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously we're not the best 3-point shooting team, but teams that if we can get, Joel, Cam, Kenny, even Luke, Jalik, 7th, if they can knock down some threes, if we can, find the holes in the gaps there and knock down some threes, what that'll do to their zone defense. Because I mean, even Calipari took a shot at Coach K in the post game at the Champions Classic about playing 40 minutes of zone, and how people just really don't do that much. But Coach K does a lot of things that a lot of people don't do, like his indefinite suspension last year. But kind of referring a little bit to the UCLA situation there. We're not going to get into that here now. This is a Tar Heel podcast. We're going to keep it at that. And like I said, I've kind of rambled on. I want to thank you guys again for listening. Hopefully you share the podcast over the Thanksgiving holiday. And at Tar Heel Nation. So connect up with me. And other than that, all I got to say is go Heels.